2 days ago, I attended a high school reunion and met a boy who had once pursued me. I remember that he used to be short, had dark skin, and dressed a bit unfashionably. In short, the kind of guy who didn't stand out at all. At the time, I didn't have much interest in him. In fact, I could say I wasn't interested in him at all. However, this time when we met again, his transformation shocked me. He is now an executive at a major company, and his entire demeanor is completely different from back then. He exudes confidence and maturity, speaks gracefully, and clearly leads a very successful and happy life. His current lifestyle is full of the aura of success and happiness. What struck me most is that the man I looked down on in my early 20s has turned out to be so outstanding at the age of 38, perfectly matching my current criteria for a partner. Not only has he achieved career success, but his personality and appearance have also undergone a complete makeover, aligning exactly with what I now look for. Unfortunately, he is already married with children, and it is clear that we are not meant to be. This stark contrast made me sigh with emotion. How unpredictable the passage of time can be.
我今年呀40出头，至今单身。
I am 40 years old this year and have been single all my life. Recently, I fell ill and was hospitalized. During my stay, a woman of similar age to me was also in the hospital. What left a deep impression on me was her husband's meticulous and thoughtful care for her. He was incredibly attentive and considerate, which moved me greatly and made me rethink my own life. I used to think being single wasn't a big deal, but at that moment, I changed my mind. I decided I couldn't live alone anymore. I, too, want to find someone suitable to share my life with. After recovering and being discharged, I shared this decision with my family and friends, even expressing my intentions through a matchmaker. I believe that once you've made up your mind, you must approach it methodically to achieve your goal. I took some time to outline my criteria for a potential partner, ensuring that my requirements were clear and specific. However, when I shared these criteria with the matchmaker, to my surprise, she fell silent for quite a while, said nothing, and even turned and walked away. This reaction left me puzzled. I asked myself, my demands aren't unreasonable, so why would the matchmaker react like that? To figure out the problem, I decided to lay out my thoughts in detail and seek everyone's advice. Where exactly did I go wrong? I am 40 years old and unmarried. For various reasons, I haven't gotten married all these years, which has made me a so-called leftover woman in the eyes of others. However, my living conditions are quite good. I am currently a department manager in a large company, with a stable high income. I own a car and a house, and my job is considered respectable. Honestly, my requirements for my future partner shouldn't be particularly high. Here are my general criteria for a partner. First, in terms of age, I hope he is around my age, or I can accept up to 50 years old. However, he must be mature, steady, have a stable job, and a reliable income. Regarding height, I hope he is between 1.75 meters and 1.80 meters, which is within my acceptable range. Additionally, his personality must be gentle, not irritable, responsible, caring, and understanding of life, with no bad habits. As for appearance, I hope he is handsome to some extent, at least someone I can be proud to show off. I value face a lot, so my boyfriend must give me enough respect in front of relatives and friends and even pamper me. Second, regarding the betrothal gift, I specifically require him to provide 880,000 yuan as a bride price. This is not because I am greedy for money, but because I believe that marriage costs more for women than men. This money is a form of financial security for me and a recognition of my worth. In other words, if a man cannot meet this requirement, it only proves that he doesn't value or recognize me enough. Besides, the betrothal gift is a traditional custom in China and a token of sincerity in marriage. If he is unwilling to spend money on a woman, such a man is not qualified to talk about marriage. Third, I hope his monthly income is at least 30,000 yuan, and all his income must be managed by me. I will allocate the 30,000 yuan into 3 parts, 10,000 yuan for my personal expenses, such as skincare products, bags, clothes, or daily necessities, another 10,000 yuan for household expenses, and the remaining 10,000 yuan for savings, either for emergencies or for future retirement. Fourth, I am open to him being single, widowed, or divorced, but on the condition that he cannot have children living with us. If he has children, they cannot live with us, although I don't mind if he occasionally visits them. However, if he spends money on or buys things for his children, he must inform me in advance. One more thing. I cannot accept a male child. If he has children, they must be daughters for me to consider being with him. Again, I emphasize that the children absolutely cannot live with us. Fifth, I hope he has both a car and a house. The car should be worth at least 600,000 yuan, and the house must be a property in a school district. Moreover, once we get married and register, the ownership of the house and car must include my name. This is not me being demanding but a basic guarantee in marriage. After all, once we are married, we are family, and as his wife, I am entitled to half of the assets. This is very reasonable, isn't it? These are my criteria for a partner. I personally believe that my own conditions are excellent, and my demands are really not excessive. They are practical and realistic requirements. The purpose of these criteria is based on ensuring both of us have a happy life in the future. However, the matchmaker seemed troubled after hearing this and even suggested that I lower my standards. This attitude left me very confused. Are my demands really that high? Or has the market run out of eligible men who meet these criteria? I have always believed my demands are reasonable, and I am sincere about finding a suitable partner to share my life with. So, I'd like to ask everyone for their opinion. Are my standards truly unreasonable? After all, my excellent conditions are right here, aren't they?
94的我就算大龄剩女啦，就在你们眼里我就大龄了，我就
I was born in 1994. By today's standards, maybe I'm considered a leftover woman in other people's eyes. Whenever someone mentions leftover, I feel a bit puzzled because I'm only 30 years old. However, my mom keeps telling others that I'm a leftover woman, and my family has started introducing all kinds of people to me. As for those people, some work in state-owned enterprises, and they're all only children. But I just don't understand why the men introduced to me nowadays are often from other places, and most of them are short, usually under 1.7 meters tall. Honestly, I don't have any particularly high standards. I only hope the man is born after 1990, is at least 1.75 meters tall, and earns no less than 300,000 yuan annually. As for other conditions, having a house and a car is a must, and it would be best if he doesn't live with his parents. I think my requirements aren't too high, but I don't know why I can't find the right man. I work in a state-owned enterprise. I'm an only child, and my parents are retired from government jobs. They both have pensions. Financially, we're not extremely wealthy, but we live comfortably. Although my family isn't one of those super rich families, I believe I meet some decent criteria. So why is it still so hard to find the right person? Now, the matches my family introduces to me are either too short, have a mortgage, or earn only 5,000 to 6,000 yuan a month. I really can't accept this kind of situation. Actually, my requirements aren't that high. I just hope the man earns over 300,000 yuan annually. Or if he works in a state-owned enterprise and has some side income, that's acceptable too. I just don't understand why it's so difficult to find the right man now. Is finding a man over 1.75 meters really that hard? I also feel that based on my standards, finding a suitable person shouldn't be too difficult. After all, I was born in 1994, so finding a man born around 1990 shouldn't be impossible, right? Yet, in reality, I sometimes don't understand why it's so challenging. Although my appearance isn't particularly outstanding, I'm just an ordinary girl. I only hope the man looks normal, is emotionally mature, and has a good personality. If he's willing to spend money on me, I'll truly cherish him. Plus, my family doesn't have any major financial burdens, and our conditions are fairly decent. Even so, most of the people introduced to me are not very suitable. As for the bride price, I know it's an important matter, and it definitely needs to be prepared. My family says the bride price should be around 288,000 yuan. Other things like gold jewelry and necklaces should be purchased separately. Anyway, everything that should be there must be there. Also, before getting married, it would be best if the man could buy a new car, worth around 300,000 yuan. I can even help contribute a little money for that. I think all these conditions are quite reasonable. If the man's appearance is particularly outstanding, or if his education level is exceptionally high, or his family background is very good, I can lower my requirements a bit. But the reality is that I just can't meet such men. Sometimes, I feel quite lost.
大龄剩女果然是被挑的货呀。
Older single women really are treated like commodities, picked up and scrutinized, only to be casually tossed aside if deemed unsatisfactory. I'm 33 years old and have already been labeled a leftover woman. Yesterday, I experienced yet another instance of being evaluated. Unsurprisingly, the other party decided not to place an order. This time, the buyer was introduced by one of my uncles. To be honest, apart from this uncle, the rest of my relatives have long stopped asking about my marital status. Everyone has silently agreed to avoid the topic, as I'm already considered undesirable. However, this particular uncle has always been especially concerned about my future. He's the kind of warm-hearted person who grew up running around with me as kids. Even now, despite living in different cities, he still worries about my marriage. Yesterday, he suddenly sent me a message on WeChat, asking me to send him a few photos. He said there was a man, around my age, also single, and looking for a partner. At that moment, I felt a tinge of excitement, fantasizing that maybe this time, something might finally happen. I carefully selected a few photos I thought looked nice and sent them over, imagining a beautiful start to this fate. But reality hit me hard. The man took just one glance at the photos and replied with, "I don't feel anything for her." And that was the end of it. Just like that, before anything could begin, it was over. Luckily, my mental resilience has become quite strong, and I was already prepared for such an outcome. I can accept it calmly. After all, matchmaking is essentially a two-way selection process. It's like buying vegetables. The seller thinks their goods are good, but the buyer has to agree. If the price doesn't match or the appearance isn't satisfactory, neither side will be happy. How can a transaction succeed under such conditions? Still, no matter how indifferent I appear on the surface, I can't help but feel a bit disappointed. On the bright side, I tell myself that this is just another unsuitable candidate ruled out. But even so, a subtle sense of sadness lingers in my heart. Perhaps it's the helplessness of being chosen that's the hardest to reconcile.
我39岁，是一个未婚未育的优质大龄剩女。
I am 39 years old, unmarried and childless, and in the eyes of many, I am considered a well-qualified older single woman. Not long ago, someone introduced me to a potential match. This man works at a hospital, is the only child in his family, 6 years older than me, and his parents are retired. Overall, his conditions are quite decent. The only thing that made me hesitate a little was his personality. He's extremely introverted and not very talkative. However, I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. It might even complement my own personality. After all, neither of us is young anymore, and the ultimate goal of dating is to get married. The turning point came when I brought up the idea of a bride price of 390,000 yuan. This request triggered a strong backlash from his family. Not only did they refuse my proposal, but they also questioned and criticized me on many fronts. They believed I wasn't worth a 390,000 yuan bride price, and thought I was not good enough for their family. His mother openly expressed her dissatisfaction with me, saying that their son has a stable formal job, while I am just a freelancer with an unstable income, essentially looking down on me. But I really feel this is so unfair. Although I don't have a so-called formal job, my income is by no means less than her son's. Over the years, I have worked hard with my own two hands and managed to buy a house and a car in our county. As for the bride price, my original intention was to show gratitude to my parents. They worked so hard to raise me and put me through college, so I think asking for 390,000 yuan to thank them is entirely reasonable. It's not just a form of repayment, but also a way to express my appreciation as their daughter. Honestly, in every respect, my conditions are not bad. Except for being slightly older, my overall capabilities, financial situation, and quality of life fully justify the 390,000 yuan bride price. In other words, spending 390,000 yuan to marry me wouldn't be a loss for their family. Instead, they made many unfair judgments and underestimated me. I really don't understand. Was my request for a bride price truly unreasonable? Am I not worth it? Maybe in their eyes, age is a huge disadvantage, but in my view, the abilities and qualities I've built over the years are far more valuable. A man like him, if you don't want me, I don't even care about you. Men like that deserve to stay single forever. So tell me, is my request really too much? Honestly, I genuinely want to find someone to marry.
我结婚不是为了吃苦，更不想扶贫。
I am 33 years old and unmarried. Although I haven't found a truly suitable partner yet, I want to say that my view on marriage is very clear. I am not getting married to suffer and definitely not to provide charity. What I expect is a stable and happy life. If my partner's conditions are worse than mine, what's the point of getting married? I'm living a good life on my own, free and comfortable, so what exactly would I gain from being with you? To be blunt, if your income is just a few thousand yuan and can't even cover my daily expenses, why should I live with you? Let alone having children in the future. I absolutely don't want the next generation to struggle or inherit our difficulties. As a man, shouldn't you at least own a car and a house? At the very least, you should have a stable job with a monthly income of over 10,000 yuan. No matter how you support your family, isn't the premise of marriage to provide your wife with a decent life and a sense of security? Don't tell me you think getting a wife means having someone to endure poverty with you. Nowadays, we women understand this more than ever, and more of us are choosing to stay clear-headed. Rather than settling for the wrong person, it's better to remain single and live an easier, more carefree life. When you're on your own, you can spend your money as you wish and live life the way you want. Isn't that a kind of happiness too? But if you marry the wrong person, what awaits you might be endless household chores, constant arguments, and overwhelming family pressures. This is exactly why many women ultimately choose to remain single. So, the reason there are more and more so-called leftover women is not that we can't get married, but that we refuse to compromise. We don't want to settle, we don't want to lower our standards, and we definitely don't want to end up in a more oppressive life just to get married. Instead of settling downwards, we would rather continue enjoying our good lives. Women have long seen this clearly. Being older and single is not a tragedy, but a sign of taking control of one's life and being responsible for it. To those men who have poor conditions yet still act picky, I just want to say, what makes you think you're qualified to make me give up the happiness of being single to live with you? No car, no house, no ability, and yet you expect a woman to struggle through tough days with you. This is simply naive. Nowadays, more and more women are clear-headed and unwilling to sacrifice their freedom, happiness, and comfort for marriage. Choosing to stay single is not out of helplessness, but a display of wisdom and courage.
Why do some older single women with average conditions often believe that the reason they remain unmarried is not their own issues but their excellence? Why do they develop such a strong sense of self-importance? In fact, this confidence largely stems from their peak experience. So, what is a peak experience? Simply put, it refers to specific occasions or experiences where they received treatment far beyond their usual standards of living, which led to a misjudgment of their self-perception. For example, they might have been seated in first class during a business trip arranged by a client. From that moment on, they believed they deserved such treatment for the rest of their lives. Or perhaps they dated someone with superior conditions who, during the relationship, took them to high-end restaurants or on trips to famous scenic spots. This led them to think they were destined to marry into a wealthy family. Additionally, some women, after makeup significantly enhanced their appearance, received admiring and envious glances and were surrounded by compliments. These brief moments of external validation gave them the false impression that their beauty could last well into their 50s or 60s. Moreover, indulging in such self-admiration and superficial flattery from others, they often reinforce this feeling through social media. For instance, posting a casual street photography video online might attract the attention and praise of some lower-tier simps, further convincing them that they will always be surrounded by male admirers. These experiences cause them to misjudge their self-worth, leading them, at the ages of 27, 28, or even 30 and beyond, to dismiss men of similar or even slightly better conditions. Older single women then start believing they deserve better. Meanwhile, ordinary men often find it hard to meet the high demands of such refined and high-maintenance women, and many give up pursuing them altogether. Over time, these women mistakenly believe they have become so exceptional that no one dares to pursue them. At the same time, some skilled, Manipulative men who know how to present themselves as highly desirable exploit this psychology and pretend to be outstanding individuals to attract such women. Surprisingly, these women are often drawn to such illusions and willingly invest their emotions. However, once these men achieve their goals, they quickly withdraw and end the relationship. At that point, these women regret their choices and realize they were deceived. It is often by the age of 35 or even 37 or 38 that these women finally understand their real problems. But by then, they have missed many opportunities, leaving them with nothing but deep regret. Many of life's choices are wasted in their pursuit of unrealistic high standards, and the eventual outcome is nothing short of lamentable. What do you think about the sense of superiority among older single women? Please leave your comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our channel. Your support means a lot to us, and we will continue to provide you with better content. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.